the nanny bot.
Yeah.
That shot of her sort of coming up to
turns.
camera and then turning.
I know.
It is probably one of the most famous visual effects shots out there.
It was
quite
on the
frankly.
trailer and everything.
It was on the trailer, and people going like, how do we do that? When I was covering the creator, that shot, we talked about it, right? Because in some of the characters in the creator have that negative space in those androids or whatever they were. And of course it's ILM, and ILM worked on the creator. So it's so like, what a lineage to like still talk about a shot that's 25 years old.
Welcome to the Visual Effects Notes Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Action VFX and their brand new Introduction to Comfy UI for VFX course.
Become the compositor studios can't afford to replace. Easily harness the full power of Comfy UI using Action VFX's Introduction to Comfy UI for VFX course. Taught by Doug Hogan, a VFX artist with 18 years of VFX experience and countless credits within the VFX industry. Within this course, you'll learn how to install Comfy UI, quickly generate clean plates, create utility passes, speed up set extensions, create 3D models from images, and so much more. You'll also get free EXR footage, workflows, and cheat sheets. So visit actionvfx.com to sign up today and become the compositor studios want to hire.
And we have a special treat for the Visual Effects Notes podcast listeners. Use the code CONFY10VFX to get an exclusive 10% discount for this course. And now on to the show.
Hugo, how are you?
I'm good.
It's so great to be in the bunker again. I love coming here around twice a year. You've got such an amazing setup, man.
Thanks, man. And to prove everyone, he is really here. See, we're both on the same place. We're in the same camera. Because the year probably people were like, "Oh, are you really on the same room?" Yes, we are. No,
definitely.
No, it's great to have you here. It's so cool. I really love to do this live. It's just a different vibe when we're doing it in the same room. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely. And we're tackling our new series, as I'm here at the bunker, which is the rise of AI robots. With a film that I think is going to generate a lot of interesting discussion between us, but also hopefully people on VFX Notes YouTube and elsewhere where they listen and watch our show. And it's AI, artificial intelligence, from Steven Spielberg. A fascinating little history, film in the history of Spielberg and ILM and Stan Winston and all the people involved. A very unsuccessful film, I'm going to put out there straight away, even though I am absolutely obsessed with the effects work in it. We'll dive deeper why I think that, and I'm sure you might share some of those thoughts. But usually, Hugo, we also start by thanking everybody for being here and thanking our Patreon supporters as well. We wouldn't be able to do this without them. And I'm going to do a personal thank you to Hugo, who tackles the monumental task of editing this podcast and just, getting rid of my ums. So thank you, Hugo, in person.
Well, I have to get rid of my as well. It's fine. Thanks for saying that, Ian. No, but yeah, we really want to shout out to our Patreons. We can't really do it without you guys.
You've hit us as we're doing this series called The Rise of AI Robots, and it's a collection of films that we're talking about where, a filmmaker has wanted to tell the story about artificial intelligence. Clearly, this film, AI, is front and center artificial intelligence in a weird way, not like some of the other films we'll talk about, because it's not necessarily an evil AI. Right. David has some things that could go wrong and haywire, but it's not considered an evil robot, right? Or is he, Hugo?
I don't think it is. No, I think the film, we can just jump into the film already. The film is really a strange film in that sense, and maybe that's why it didn't resonate with a lot of people, because the film has like this dark side, which is with, the mother abandoning the child and abandoning the robot, and then there's like this hate against robots, and then David does some wrong things as well, which are quite dangerous with the scissor, and and almost drowning the daughter, the son, the brother, well, the brother. But at the same time, you're supposed to feel sorry for him as well. It's a very emotional ride, and with the blue fairy, and so the film is a very sentimental movie as well.
Yeah.
And I think I have a theory that there's something that doesn't gel here, because the film was not really meant to be this.
Right.
You know, I don't think it really worked, because this is such a dark topic, and
Yeah.
and I think researching for this podcast and reading a lot of articles from Stanley Kubrick, and knowing that Stanley Kubrick was trying to adapt this since the 80s. He tried to adapt this since 84. There's a record of him gathering references and gathering and even doing storyboards. There's even entire storyboards made from his original version. And his original version was supposed to be a lot darker, a lot grittier. There was going to be a lot of sex involved, a lot more stuff around Rouge City, a lot more stuff about the sex mechanical mechas. It was a lot of darker tone to the story, and I think it became a little Spielberg made. Like it's Spielberg. I don't know what the word would be, but it became like a family movie. But the dark themes are still there.
Yeah.
I don't think it gels. I
No.
think there's something that doesn't connect.
Yeah. But I agree with that. And I wish, of course, that Kubrick had been alive to actually make it at the time. But I also think maybe even Kubrick wrestled with, what is this idea for a film that I have? Clearly a Pinocchio story, but darker. Although Pinocchio, as Guillermo del Toro showed us, can be quite a dark tale.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, it becomes a bit fantastical, which is, of course, what an AI robot story would be, but very Spielberg fantastical.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think when you watch this film, especially at the cinema, you do just get to watch some amazing imagery.
Yeah.
Whether you're taken along for the ride and feel the emotions of David and, can relate to him, I don't think people did as much as they were hoping for. Yeah. And that's why the film is not hugely successful. I think people have come back to it since 2001 and have enjoyed it in a different way. I have to say, one of the interesting things about this film is it would have been fascinating if this film had come out after September 11, right? Yeah. Because, of course, there's some dystopian aspects of a flooding New York and, the world. And it would have been interesting whether, like, they might have not actually released it if it was a later release in 2001.
Most likely not, since the Trade Center shows up on so many shots.
Yeah.
And so I think it probably would have been going to the editing room, and then they would have probably postponed it and then maybe change it a bit. And but maybe it would have been even worse. Maybe it became even more family friendly.
Maybe.
It could have been.
Or completely conversely, maybe it would have drawn upon the way the world and America was feeling at the time and had that sort of a different kind of success. So who knows? But
it's weird, isn't it? Because the film came out in June.
Yeah.
Came out just before that, and it's like, I think it's so fascinating that we still see the World Trade Center supposedly in 2100, which is when the film is set. I think the film is like 100 years into the future or something like that. I don't think it's actually written anywhere what the date is, but no, I feel like I'll give you always talk about the experience. I went to the cinema to see this movie back then because I was obsessed with Stanley Kubrick, and I was so sad that he died, and I knew about this movie. I knew that he was trying to make it. There was a lot of conversation. It was supposed to be directed by... There was a time that Spielberg was directing it, and Kubrick was going to produce it. But then Spielberg had many meetings with Kubrick, and Spielberg really didn't thought that was a good idea. He really thought that Kubrick should have directed. But Kubrick always wrestled not only with the story and trying to give what the story could be, but also how to approach it, because he wanted to do David as a synthetic. He wanted to do it as either a robot or a CG robot, or you did not want to cast a child on the movie.
I mean, I think there's a famous story shared by ILM's visual effects supervisor, Dennis Muren, about Kubrick bringing him over to England on Thanksgiving or something like that. But this is only just after Terminator 2, or I could be wrong about the time period. It might be after Jurassic Park, actually.
Yeah.
And Kubrick realizing that, we can do these things now with CG, but also asking Dennis Muren and the team a million questions about how he could do it. And I would reflect on it and say it would have been really interesting to have a central character that was very realistic, but not quite there.
Yeah.
And the challenge with Haley Joel Osment, who's incredible in the film, by the way, is that he looks like a kid. And he's meant to look like a kid. That's the whole story point. But should he have been a bit more mecha?
I know what you mean. Like even Jude Law looks more mecha because of his makeup and because of the jawline that they created. Yeah. So it's a bit, it kind of worked a bit better in that sense. But I was going back to the fact that when I went to the cinema, I was really had high hopes because I was hoping that, since Kubrick gave all the research to Spielberg and he gave the blessing to do the movie, and then Christian Kubrick gave all the boxes of research to Spielberg, I was hoping that Spielberg would have kept more of what Kubrick wanted to make on the movie. And so when I went to the cinema, I was a little bit disappointed at the time. I thought the film was too sentimental. I thought the film was just a bit not dark enough. It was a bit too sweet for the story that it was trying to make, because it was a quite dark story and a quite nasty story about AI and artificial intelligence and the abandonment and leaving your child. It's just a really sad, there's underneath it a really sad story, and especially the beginning of the movie when you see William Hurt discussing with all the with all this team. And there's a lot of philosophical questions on that section, which is really powerful. He's talking about religion and he's talking about AI. He's talking about what is the role of AI. They want to make a AI with feelings that could love. All that was so extraordinary at the beginning, and then it kind of like
it didn't
happen
there
anymore. The philosophical part is gone, on the film.
Which is actually one of the challenges, problems, but also interesting things about the film structurally.
Yeah.
Structurally, it goes many different places, not just location-wise. There's the William Hurt story, which I think I would have liked to have seen throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Then there's the at home, these parents replacing their dead child who isn't really dead with David. Then David, of course, being outcast and having his own adventures, which is the most Spielbergian side of this. I think structurally, that's probably what audiences didn't really love, because they weren't, what were they following?
Yeah.
Is it David's story? Well, but we like the William Hurt stuff. And then, we also like, is it Gigolo Joe or however?
Yeah, it's called Gigolo Joe, yeah.
So I felt maybe it possibly could have worked with a much simpler storyline. There's a lot going on here, especially if you then add in the Pinocchio stuff, which is thematically
and then at the end
whole
you
point.
have these future robots as well that are looking for humanity, and this it's which I by
is
the way,
bonkers. Can we just say?
Yeah, when I saw it the first time, when I was in the theater and I saw it the first time, I actually thought it was aliens.
Right.
At the time, I didn't understand that they were robots. I only understood that a bit later. That they were robots.
I'm ready to tell you, I thought they were aliens.
Yeah, me too. Like I thought. No, that's what I meant. Like when I saw it the first time, I thought they were aliens. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Did I say the wrong?
No, you didn't. But I think I'm still in the know. I'm not in the know. I thought they were aliens.
They're not aliens. No. And I only know this.
Well, that's embarrassing.
No, it's not, because the film doesn't do a great job explaining that. And
wait, you're right. It's the mechas that have evolved.
Yes.
Sorry,
But it's really
I'm remembering.
No, but For years I thought it was aliens. For years.
Yeah.
And only now recently watching the movie again.
Yeah.
Watching the movie just this week, I then realized there's a small sentence that the alien says to David.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we are looking at the past because we're trying to find out about our makers.
Yeah.
That's just a little sentence that they say. That's when oh shit. And then I go to the books and I go to the art book and then I realize, oh, it's the future robots.
Which makes it more palatable in that it's not some crazy weird suddenly we've got aliens. But the design of them, which is actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioning the aliens there is one of the challenges of the film, again, with design. I feel like because it's Kubrick and because it's Spielberg, there was so much, like all the departments on this film did like a stupendous job. Like art department, ILM, cinematography, Stan Winston's creature stuff, Michael Lentiri's special effects stuff. But the film is very, very designed.
Yeah.
Now, of course it has to be. It's set in the future. We're going to these crazy places, including Rouge City. You know, it has to be designed. But it actually, in my view, makes you feel like you're watching 4 films.
Yeah.
And that's possibly the intention.
Yeah.
Right? I actually think, we've just talked about that, you know, there's a William Hurt story, there's David's story, there's other stuff. I don't think they gel. And I think that's also one of the design issues of the film is like we can't sort of follow along a language. So when you get to the evolved mecha, of course it's thousands of years in the future or whatever it is.
It's supposed to be 2,000 years in the future.
Yeah, of course they're going to look different, but it just doesn't fit. You're just like, what have I just seen? You know.
I know.
And by then as well, the film is kind of slow.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a classic film with adventure sequences. No. Even the carnival flesh stuff is not really the classic, you know, exciting stuff. So by then it's kind of slow and then you see this spaceship and you're like, oh, something's gonna happen. And they just sit around talking. So
well, I think going back to what you were saying is really important because the film, usually when you look at Kubrick's films, for example, if you look at Clock Orange, for example, it's set in the future, but you don't notice that it's in the future, but you notice that it you know what I mean? Like, you know it's the future, but it looks the same. But there's some few things that make it look like the future.
Yeah.
And so it's a dystopian future. It's a representation because usually the future, I mean, look around. We are in 2025. When we were young in the 90s, we looked at the future as something white or something, flying cars.
Sure.
And you look around, there's still old stuff, and there's still old buildings, and there's still old cars, and that always exists. You always have old things. And on this movie, the beginning with William talking with his team about the robot, you don't really notice what time it is. And then when you're in the family, you also don't notice it kind of, except the car, maybe the car or something, and the cryogenic chamber for the kid. But those are the little things. But then when we go to the Flesh Fair, and then we go to the Rouge City, and then it just becomes, it's exactly what you said. It's stylized. It's too much style. It's too much design. It's too much stuff. It's trying to showcase a future that will really never happen. And I just don't believe that this will happen. Yeah. I don't believe it.
Having said that, I love the design of Rouge City, and I love,
but it doesn't fit.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit.
And again, I'm going to say it's almost deliberate. I think it's crafted as a film with these vignettes, these sections, right? And it's almost something Kubrick might have done to deliberately like go, I'm making a wacky film, all right? And Spielberg has had to kind of slot into it there. But I guess what I really meant when I said I don't follow it is that because these different departments are given so much scope to design crazy worlds, they went all out, you know, and that's what maybe made it less consistent. than you might get on another sort of film.
And I also let's also give the benefit of the doubt to Spielberg. I mean, it is hard. It's a huge responsibility first because it was supposed to be a Kubrick movie. Following the steps of Kubrick is difficult, even if you're Spielberg, because Kubrick is Kubrick, and you're like, okay, how do you tackle this? How do you respect his vision? How do I also bring my vision into it? Because he wanted to also bring his side to it. You're tackling, Kubrick was known for researching heavily for decades on things. So you're talking about cases and cases and cases and cases of notes, notebooks, photos, storyboards, things that could lead nowhere, you know, just because he was a hogger, he was a hoarder. He would hoard thousands of documents to do something.
Yep.
And so no one really knew exactly what he wanted to do with all those documents except him. And so it's a really hard thing for him, for Spielberg to pick up this movie, which is not his movie. And he's trying to do it as an homage to his friend. And he's trying to leave behind this love letter to Kubrick. But he also doesn't really have all the information to do the movie. I think he tried his best. And I really feel that I have to give him benefit of the doubt because it must have been a really sad and really heartfelt thing to try to do this. And he tried his best. It wasn't successful, like you said. I think the film is better with time, for sure. I watched it this week. I thought it was better. I really felt, well, this film is actually aged well. And I think it aged well mainly because we're living through this now.
Well,
I
that's
think
true.
it has to do
That's
that
true.
with that.
It's also got, as you've already mentioned, some super cool things to say about what we might do with this technology.
Yeah.
And that's what Kubrick is getting at, and Spielberg.
Yeah.
We're going to be using it for sex. We're going to be using it for replacing.
It's already happening.
And should we be replacing people?
Companies making that.
So the themes in the film are spot on.
Yeah.
If not as subtle as they should be, you know. And I liked the flourishes of Spielberg, right? What's the animated professor?
The
I love
Dr.
it.
No. Yeah, the Dr. No.
I love it, right? Like, and there's just so many cool things in it. But if you were trying to enjoy it just as a film with a really compelling plot line, I don't think it holds together. That's really the issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's the thing. So you went to the cinema to see it as well at the time.
Yes. So one thing I want to mention about this is, so this film came out in 2001.
Yeah.
I was nearing the end of university, I think, in Australia. And I had become obsessive about film trailers.
Oh, yeah.
And visual effects too, but film trailers, because Apple Trailers had a thing, and they were the
great
best
website. Yeah,
they were the best quality you could get, because it was terrible to watch things on Real Player and whatever those others.
Oh my God,
things were.
Real Player!
Yeah. But I would download these trailers or find them somewhere, the .mov file, and I would just watch them over and over again. Like, I just would watch them. You know, they're 3 minutes. I would love to know how many times I watched the trailer for this film. They also at that time used to release, especially Apple, little 45-second versions of trailers, because I think they realized that people were downloading these things and watching them. So AI had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was always this trailer where William Hurt said, "I propose we build a robot child or a robot boy," or something like that. And I have that in my brain. And I remember watching this trailer and wondering how ILM had done the effects that they kind of showed, or how Stan Winston had done it. So I went to this film in the cinema, like, oh my God, this is like going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember being so disappointed. Partly because 2001 was a great year for films.
Yeah.
Like,
it was. Yeah.
Maybe by then, or just after we had Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And wasn't there Jurassic Park 3?
Rings.
Well, Lord of the Rings was not until December,
but
right?
It was the same batch as the Oscar. It was on the same It was the same year that they were competing for the Oscar. Yeah. So because Lord of the Rings won it. So
but it was a year that had just such an amazing visual effects work. So yes, Fellowship of the Ring won the visual effects Oscar.
Yeah.
ILM was
Harbor, yeah.
nominated for Pearl Harbor and AI,
Yeah.
but there was other big films that year like Jurassic Park 3, I think,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a few others. And I just remember artificial intelligence at some point obviously grabbing the Cinefex as well, which is a brilliant Cinefex on this film. I just remember seeing and realizing that this was one of those films with
Planet
so
of the
much
Apes
work
as well.
in it.
That's right. It's on the same issue as well. Planet of the Apes as well.
Yeah.
Was out as well.
It's just one of those films that had amazing special effects, mechanical effects, miniatures, CG work by ILM, new technology, which we'll talk about with pre-visualization and virtual production, and then thinking all that work and the film is a bit of just not as compelling as I wanted it to be, you know. So I remember thinking that in 2001. I sometimes think that now with modern films, when I know how much visual effects work has gone into a film and like, oh no one goes to see it, you know. But anyway.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I was super disappointed at the time as well. But I really recommend people go and watch it again, because I think now that we're living through the AI age and going through everything that has happened with the replacement of humans and ChatGPT and like you said, the sex robots, which are also a lot of companies working on that, I think this film is a lot more powerful now than it was at the time. And even the story of replacing the child, replacing the love with the mother, because there's always rumors of there's also rumors of companies trying to make that as well, trying to make children to replace when mothers lose their child. There's already dolls like that for people that are going through a really hard time when the baby dies. But I'm sure that's the next step as well.
Well, there's also been films probably since then and even before then which deal with that, which is it's not a pet, it's a human or a artificially intelligent robot. And the themes are always very similar, like can you ever replace the emotion of a real son or daughter or a human? And of course the answer is no. Well, in this film it's certainly no. Although this film, it kind of sidesteps it a little bit by the fact that the son's still alive, you know, or eventually is alive.
And then it suddenly shows up. It's a bit weird that he just shows up out of like, all the doctors said he had no chance to live ever again, and then it just shows up on the middle of the movie. It sounds like a little bit of a plot thing, just for it to happen.
It's a clever little twist because it's like, well, now we don't need you, AI robot. But she already was really wary of David before Son showed up anyway. So
which they did the same with Teddy as well. But before we move on, like you said, really recommend people to go and watch Cinefex. It's Cinefex number 87. And I just want to also really quickly just recommend to people this book. And I know it's really hard to find. The book is out of stock for a while now. But this book, AI Artificial Intelligence, from Stanley Kubrick to Steven Spielberg, it's basically Chris Baker's book. It's only drawings from Chris Baker. It has all the storyboards from the movie, and it includes also the storyboards and some of the research that Kubrick did, and a lot of really good text. And in this book, you learn a lot about the Kubrick version of this film. Which is really, if you read all the text, and read, especially the first chapter, where they talk about the genesis of this film, it really goes through some of the shots that Kubrick wanted to do. And it's a beautiful book. It's really huge, as you can see. It's like a gigantic book. You were just saying, isn't it, that they don't do them really like this anymore.
Oh my God.
These books are like just humongous. It's a huge book. If you ever have the chance, you should really give it a go. And then, of course, I would really recommend the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is packed with extras. I still have my original DVD from Portugal.
I've got that one too.
Inteligência Artificial.
Well, I haven't got that one, but
it's in Portuguese. It's all in Portuguese. But it's the same extras. There's nothing new in between.
Isn't that an interesting cover? Which is so not drawing on that at all.
I know.
You know?
This was the It wasn't the poster, but this was what we mostly saw in 2000s. This is an original DVD from that time, from that period, and this is from like now. It's the version that they have now, which is much more the kid and the Teddy, and I think they're just making it a bit more like a family movie. But yeah, if anyone wants to know about more about AI is one of those films that has a remarkable edition in Blu-ray. It has a lot of really good interviews, goes quite deeply in how it was made, has a lot of behind the scenes. The book is really astounding as well, and the Cinefex as well. But I think, fortunately, it's a film that has been very documented, and there's a lot of things out there for you to watch.
Well, yes, possibly it came out at the height of DVD
DVDs,
featurettes.
Absolutely.
And, every
they would put a lot of, there would be a budget to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, and it was driving sales of DVDs as well. Yeah,
because they would sell it as dual disc and 2 discs and everything.
Let's talk a bit about the craft of the film. Cinematography wise, Janusz Kaminski, have I got the name?
I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, Kaminski.
Was a long-time collaborator with Spielberg.
Yeah.
This film, like a lot of Spielberg films, it is just full of haze
and glow
and smoke and glow and I don't know if I would say lens flares, but it probably does. And that just is a real trademark of Janusz's work, especially in the flesh fair.
Yeah.
And I guess sometimes it's to hide, like you sort of mentioned before, we're not really shown the future here except a drowned New York.
Yeah.
And, the car and stuff. I do feel like it's very deliberately up close with the characters, right? There's not too many other spectacle shots. But Janusz's work is amazing.
It is. He's an amazing cinematographer. I mean, he won 2 Oscars already. He won the Oscar with Schindler's List, and he won the Oscar with Saving Private Ryan. So, I think he's done so many movies with Spielberg already. So it was going to be a choice like this. But the film doesn't age very well in terms of look and cinematography, because the film has so much glow. It has so much glow. And the glow thing, I'm not sure if it's processed or if it's post-production or if it was because they used filters on the lenses, like they could have used that as well. But there's so much glow that it really dates the movie.
Explain glow. Is it a halo?
Yeah, it's the halo.
Someone?
You basically have, whenever you have a strong light source, you get this kind of hazy halo around it. And this film, especially the first chapter, when you are in the house with the mother and with David, sometimes the glow is so much that it's blinding from the windows and from the light sources.
Right.
It's a bit too much.
I feel like I'm going to dive into an American cinematographer article and read that it's, of course, deliberate.
Yeah, it is.
And what it brings to the story might be something Janusz will explain if I read that article. But what do you think it's trying?
Well, I think Kubrick. Well, if you look, there was there's a phase in Spielberg's movies where every film had glow.
Okay.
And for example, Private Ryan has that as well, but it's only on the first 45 minutes that he has that. Minority Report is the one that has the most. Minority Report,
definitely
the whole movie is a glow fest.
Yeah.
And now he's toned it down. I think he doesn't do that as much, but I think it's
interesting.
It's a look. It's a very 90s. It's a very 2000s look.
Do you remember? I feel like I know that look because of Minority Report the most.
Yeah.
And I feel like, is it possible that at the cinema, you because of just watching it on film,
it's different.
It feels a bit more diffused.
Yeah,
or
because
something.
the dynamic range is not as. I know what you mean.
But a transfer to a beautiful Blu-ray might exacerbate it.
Exactly, because TVs usually have a lot of bright spots, and because they're supposed to be watched in light.
I apologize for the non-technical analysis of that,
true.
But I think
you're absolutely right, because film. Especially film, this film was delivered. When we went to the cinema to see it, it was real 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
And film has a really large dynamic range, and so nothing really gets overblown or overexposed. And usually when you're watching a film like projection, it's usually duller and the light is slightly lower
Right.
because you're in a pitch black room.
Yeah.
And so we just experienced that on Sinners.
Yeah.
We went to see Sinners in 70 millimeter on the IMAX, and you
Yeah.
saw how low the light was.
Yeah.
It was really low.
Yeah.
But it's in purpose. It's because it's supposed to be watched on a full blackout room.
Yes.
But when we're watching it on TV or you're watching it on a television, it's usually a really bright room.
Yeah.
And so TVs pump a lot of brightness into it's the Rec 709 color space is super bright, super contrasty. And so then it exacerbates the glows. It becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And usually it just clamps those values and it becomes it becomes much more ugly.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay.
And you're right, like the Blu-ray, I can't really tell anymore because we don't have access to the 35 millimeter print. There hasn't been any new restorations of this movie. There's no 4K version. There's no restoration. There's only this old Blu-ray. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Hopefully someday we'll have a restoration and a proper version of this movie. But unfortunately, I'm also worried about that because lately a lot of these restorations have been terrible. Like,
well, they should just use AI to restore AI, right?
Well, if there's a movie that they should use, it is this one, isn't it?
No, please don't. Please
Well,
don't,
they're
because
saying
you're
this-
going to bring up something like True Lies
Yeah.
or
T2 or
T2,
Aliens.
where-
they're
where-
all denoised and they're all
Yeah.
basically transformed by AI.
Yeah.
I know. It's the Topaz. It's the software called Topaz that everyone is using now
right.
to do these things, to clean up these things, which is, if you overuse it, like everything, if you overuse it, it looks weird.
Yeah.
I think. So
Yes.
for me, I think the cinematography is beautiful, especially if you watch the movie multiple times, you notice that there's this beautiful relationship between reflections, circles, glasses, and mirrors. There's a lot of that. A lot of,
Yeah.
David reflecting to the table, which is a mirror. David inside a glass mirror, which is a round mirror. Even when they're at the dinner table, there's like this round lamp that David is in the middle of it. When David is abandoned by the mother, you see the reflection of him, or the car goes away and you see him on the
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reflections, and I think Jonas did an amazing job bringing this AI, which is a reflection of humanity, into
Totally.
to the imagery that he's trying to do. I just wish there was less glow. I just wish there was less glow.
Yeah.
And I think Minority Report is the worst of the offenders, but fortunately Spielberg stopped doing that,
Okay.
which is nice.
I was going to suggest we dive into some specific visual effects shots.
Yeah.
And when we talk about visual effects on this film, one thing that's really cool is that often it's a total collaboration between SFX, miniatures, creature effects, and digital visual effects by ILM. My favorite visual effect, and maybe even sequence on the film, Hugo, is very early on with William Hurt
I know which
and
one it
the
is.
secretary bot.
Yeah.
Where he pushes a few places on her
And it
face.
touches it.
Yeah,
Does
and
that,
and
yeah.
her mouth, essentially face, opens up to reveal an exoskeleton.
Yeah.
And then he sort of puts this cube, I think, inside her, or takes it out. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, he takes it out and puts it again, and
It's like a memory, or who knows, battery. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the reason this shot works so well is because I don't think there are any cutaways, right?
Yeah.
And that was also a bit of a trademark of Spielberg in some of his shots in many films, but where he collaborated with ILM. Like War of the Worlds, there's just some great shots with the creature attacking people and the camera doesn't cut away. And that just makes you go, what? Hang on, how did they do that?
Yeah.
And I think this face opening up is an example of that as well.
Yeah.
Probably something relatively simple today, but even back then in terms of reprojections, and of course some CG imagery for what's inside her. But do you remember that shot?
Yeah,
Hugo?
I'll never
Yeah.
forget it because
Yeah.
because the film starts with nothing. They're just a bunch of people talking in a room.
Yeah.
They're having this ultra philosophical conversation about what is feeling, and he hits. It's such a good sequence. I watch it all the time.
Yeah.
When I was researching to this movie, I think that sequence was the one that I watched the most amount of times. He hits I think he uses a little knife to hit on the arm of the secretary, and she gets afraid.
Yeah.
And she learns with the process.
Yeah.
And then he asks, "What is your feeling about it?" And she can't really reply.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Well, that's the rub, because they can't really feel."
Yeah.
And then he just does that and touches, and then the face opens up.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I was like on the theater, because it's the first VFX of the film. It's the first shot. And when you watch that shot, which this is 2001, okay? We are not used to this kind of effects. We have never seen anything like this. And you're in the theater and your mouth is like, what is that? Can I just watch it again? It's mind-blowing.
I would say, though, by then, ILM and a few other visual effects studios had really, after Jurassic Park, blown people away with kind of great spectacle stuff, but also invisible stuff like this, right? And so the camera not cutting away is the invisible side of it. But, it would have been made, I suspect, and definitely the Cinefex goes into it, with getting reference of her from multiple angles, a couple of tracking markers on her, match moving the face, right? And then using the reference photography to reproject that imagery
exactly how it's done.
Onto there.
And that's why it's so real, because you're projecting. Basically, they shot at multiple plates, and they shot the plate of the girl just facing the camera, and then they shot her doing this, shot her doing that.
Yeah.
And so with those two movements, they then managed to project. But as you project into the geometry, because the footage is already of a moving face, it kind of hides the fact that it's not really a full CG. These days, this would have been done in CG.
Possibly.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
It would have been a full CG human made,
from a scan of the actress.
Complete scan, But because projection is an amazing technique. Of course, the problem with projection, and that's why it's not as commonly used these days, is that you can't move the camera, and you can't. I mean, it's very limited. And since you notice that this is almost a fixed camera, it's like basically a fixed camera.
It benefits from being a simple setup in terms of the camera move, or if any. But also you're kind of wowed by the fact that this happens, and then he's doing a few other things. What I think is super cool too is we're talking 2000, 2001, when ILM would have done it. I don't think they were quite using Shake then. Definitely they weren't using Nuke.
Yeah.
So they were using what was a really popular piece of compositing software at ILM at the time called CompTime, I believe. Please, if someone's worked on this at AI, it
has to be either CompTime or it could have been Inferno starting.
That's right.
Or could have been, because I know they used Inferno in '99 for episode 1.
Oh, they absolutely used Flame and Inferno stuff. So that's right. It might not have been CompTime necessarily. But I just think it's just not even using what people are used to these days. So it's just a stunning piece of simple looking visual effects.
And it still holds up. You watch it in full HD in the Blu-ray, completely holds up. The grain structure is there. All the edges are perfect. There's no rotoscoping problems. There's no lighting issues. It's an amazing shot. I think it's the best shot of the whole film. Yeah. It's a really, really convincing shot.
Yeah. Okay. The next one I was going to mention, which probably a close second to that shot, is anything with Teddy.
Oh yeah, Teddy.
I am obsessed with Teddy. It's almost because I feel like it's quite a dark character in a way.
It's awesome. It's like so cool.
Yeah. But then the mix here of a puppet built by Stan Winston, puppeteered by that team, and then regularly taken over by ILM, because sometimes he's full motion running up a hill, and ILM would have also been involved in paint outs of the puppeteering rigs and puppeteers. that is like one of those classic combinations ILM was also doing with Stan Winston at the time, right? Which is, of course, dinosaurs, but creature effects where you're close up on Teddy or when something can be achieved with puppeteering, but then CG where it needed to be. Like the ILM and Stan Winston studio just had that collaboration going on at that time.
Well, since T2, since
they've
been doing it for so long. Like, I mean, I think it kind of started even before Terminator 2, I think.
Yeah. But didn't ILM, don't you think, just did such a great job of replicating a puppeteering look?
Yeah.
But then taking it further where they needed to.
I don't think you notice.
I don't think you notice.
I really don't
Which you do sometimes in other films when there's a takeover.
It's like, sometimes I have a really hard time finding where the CG begins and where the puppet ends, and because it's such a well achieved. And also Teddy is a remarkable piece of the story, and I really feel it's really heartfelt because he's also an abandoned robot as well.
Of course,
because it's like inside a box. They left him, forgot about him, just like David will as well.
Yeah.
Very reminiscence of Toy Story and the toys in the box that are abandoned and left over, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also a really fun. It's really the comedy side of the film is from him as well. Yeah. He does a lot of jokes as well, and he's really really like he does really smart remarks, doesn't he? He's like quite cool.
Yeah,
I really like it, and I think that's why you really believe it, because you fell in love with the character, and then by the time the VFX and the animatronics come along, you're not even looking at any of it, you know. And
just again, sometimes there's a shot. I remember one particular shot where he's like running over a hill near the Flesh Fair, and you're like, oh, well, we're going to see the puppet here, and then they might cut to an ILM running Teddy, and then back to the puppet. Well, I just remember this shot that stays on him running and walking, and you're like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah.
You know, and of course I understand it's a CG Teddy at that point, but I just feel like ILM had mastered something about that, recognizing you've got to keep it looking like what the special effects were, the practical effects were, but you can still take it further. And in fact, Spielberg was the expert at that, right? Establish with certain shots that it looks like a real puppet, so therefore anything CG you will just assume is still the real puppet.
Yeah,
and he did have a good way of staging.
And especially because when it begins, when he talks a lot and when he's very involved in the story, they're usually at the dinner table. And so you can hide all the puppeteers behind the dinner table. And so at some point, as I understood, they sometimes have 6 people controlling this thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's a really big team to just operate the mouths and the hands and the expressions and the eyes blinking and moving the arms. It's a really complex puppet with a lot of wire work and a lot of rigs behind it. It's still the same way we still do puppets still today.
Yeah.
But it's just so live. It's so well made that they've put so many articulated parts on the face that it moves so much. There's so much believability because of that. I really like it. I
That's
think
true.
It's really well made because there's. I'll put some pictures while we're talking, but it's a really complex underneath.
Yeah,
super complex. It's almost like a robot. It's an actual robot.
Well, that's what Stan Winston was making.
Yeah.
The studio was making for many projects, including this one, were robots.
Yeah.
And like, what a film to work on if you were in that world.
The funny thing is that was when Kubrick tried to do this movie since the 80s, during the 90s, and all that time, all those decades that he was trying to do the movie. At some point, I don't know if there's tests. We would have to go to the archive. There's an archive here in London, like Vivian Kubrick and Christine Kubrick, the daughter and the wife of Kubrick, have donated the entire content of the research of his movies to the art university here in London. So they have the whole archive. You can go there and open the boxes and go through it. So,
And you're saying take them away?
no, you can
just for...
you can photocopy them. You can use them for research. You can use them for books. But it's a really cool thing because it's really detailed, and because it's literally like I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of boxes of documents that are there.
Yeah.
And so during this entire research, he thought that the only way was to do an actual robot. So he wanted to do an actual robot, remote control, that would be a robot, which we're not too far away. Like, if you think about it, he just didn't live enough for it to happen.
Oh, sure.
You see what Boston Dynamics are doing. Their robots could have been an actor on the movie because they do some cool stuff.
No, they do.
Well.
They do. And
they don't have a wire, and they are actually free, and they actually get up and jump and do certain tasks as well. And so I wouldn't be surprised in the future we could see a company like Stan Winston's company in the future, maybe 20 years from now, 40 years from now, making an actual robot fabricated for a movie,
Oh, yeah. I mean, someone will probably tell us that
that's already happened.
Neil Scanlon is doing it for the Star Wars series or films, or someone's doing it for Jurassic World
where
series,
they can cut, they can still do everything that Stan Winston's did, but without the wires and without the cables and without any of that. Because if you get the stability of those Boston Dynamics robots with the equilibrium, but then you can control them still, then you get the vision of Kubrick, what he wanted, which was to make a robot.
It is the holy grail for some special effects companies like Legacy Effects, which comes out of Stan Winston. And I tell you who else would be doing it, if not already, is it Disney Imagineers for the theme parks. And there are some of these stunt robots, like the Spider-Man swinging thing, that really looks real, from a distance.
Yeah.
But definitely Disney Research is on that, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's great for a theme park attraction. Not quite yet. We're not seeing anything for movies yet. But yeah, no, you're right.
Have you looked around on auctions? Are you gonna buy it, Teddy? You would like to? Wouldn't you like to have Teddy? I would love to have the teddy bear. I'm sure someone has it. I mean, there's multiple made at the time. They made multiple of them.
Maybe.
I'm sure they exist somewhere.
Well, I've been lucky enough to go to Legacy Studio in LA, and I don't remember seeing Teddy, but there's definitely some of
them there.
Flesh. The mecha are there hanging up.
Some? Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm sure they're there.
Shit.
And we should talk about those next. Actually, Stan Winston's design group contributions for those are incredible.
Yeah.
Where they then needed to also be humanistic mecha and have pieces of face missing, or bits of their bodies missing. That was a great collaboration between ILM and Stan
that thing
Winston.
actually starts when you read that book from Chris Baker. It starts there. All those are drawings from Chris Baker.
Yeah.
The left, like the nanny robot and the butler robot and the chef robot. Those all started from sketches with Chris Baker and ideas that Kubrick had and things. And it kind of like got picked up by Stan Winston, and then they developed the look of that. It's a huge, nice collaboration all the way from the original really rough sketches that they've made at the time, That goes all the way to full visual effects with ILM as well.
The nanny bot.
Yeah.
That shot of her sort of coming up to camera and then turning.
I know.
It is probably one of the most famous visual effect shots out there.
It was on the trailer and everything.
It was on the trailer, and people going like, how do we do that? And I'm going to tell you.
It's so simple now these days.
So simple. When I was covering The Creator, that shot, we talked about it, right? Because in some of the characters in The Creator have that negative space in those androids or whatever they were. And of course it's ILM, and ILM worked on The Creator. So it's so like, what a lineage to like still talk about a shot that's 24 years old, whatever it was. But the process for doing that, Hugo, I guess generally was the character wore the prosthetic makeup effects for
they
body,
have like that. You see it on the behind the scenes. I'll put it on the show. They have this kind of blue screen section. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's green, where the makeup artist painted the whole thing blue, and then they put these huge dots, like they're really big dots.
Wow,
I think the tracking at the time was not very accurate, so the dots had to be really big. So it looks like they have some kind of disease on their face or something. So yeah, they've basically covered the whole thing in green, which is fascinating. This is how we used to do it. We don't do this anymore, really, because the advent of rotoscoping is so advanced now.
Yeah.
And compositing is so advanced now that it's unfortunate because it's so much easier to do it this way, but now they skip that step.
Sure. Well, yes. However, in 2001 at the time, ILM was probably doing match moving and tracking better than anyone else, I reckon. Yeah. And that particular shot we're talking about, but there's plenty of others in the film, is just like, it's perfect, isn't it?
That shot is. Yeah. There are others that are not.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, the shot when there's this guy that is missing the mouth and he's screaming, "Moon! Moon!" The moon is coming to hunt him. You see that the tracking between the mouth and the ending slides a bit.
Okay.
And I think, man, it's such a difficult shot, really dark. You all have to realize that 2001, I know people forget about this, but Nuke only showed up in 2004. And so this film would have been done between 2000, 2001. It would have been done. I mean, the visual effects would have been being done in 2000, really, in reality. It would have been before.
Nuke was around before that, let's be clear.
But it's
Digital Domain was using
No, but I don't think it's as known as Nuke, like as a full-fledged like compositing tool. It's not until like 2003 or 2004 it becomes like a node-based application. And famously, Nuke's rotoscoping it always sucked until like version 6 or 7.
Right.
Until then, I mean, I remember when I first used the first version of Nuke, which was 20 years ago. Just realized that the other day that I've been using Nuke for 20 years. I remember the first time I used Nuke in 2005, which was still DD. It was still the splash screen, still had DD's logo. The rotoscoping tool, which was called the Bezier tool, which doesn't exist anymore, it was really bad. It was like a terrible tool. It was not meant for rotoscoping.
Oh no! Like what ILM was basically using its own proprietary stuff to do this work.
The spline work and the roto work was really made by hand, and it was made by really craftsmanship artists. Yeah. What I'm trying to convey to everyone listening today is that we have it so much easier now because the softwares, not only they're off the shelf because you can just get them. You don't have to have a proprietary software inside the company. Anyone can get DaVinci, anyone can get Nuke, anyone can get like Blender. All these softwares are available, and they are like hundreds of times better than this thing. So this is like a craftsmanship thing.
Yeah.
These people are doing it, by hand, frame by frame, hours and hours of work, It's
and using multiple techniques to do it, right, as well. Like, because that particular nurse shot doesn't just involve getting rid of the blue.
No.
It also involves a model and pieces of
the inside of it as well.
Yeah, that's
like
what
you
I mean.
have because then you need to like recreate the lighting inside, and you need to create the back plate, and then it's a moving camera. You have to have a clean plate, but the clean plate would have been not a motion control plate, so they would have to roto it as well and patch it and track it into this really super blurry background. A lot of these shots were done by hand. A lot of these shots are done by going frame by frame and moving the frames and painting it and going really like painting the little edges. It's really like exquisite work. I really feel like that shots in particular, it really hit me hard the same way it hit me hard with the secretary opening the face,
me too.
It's kind of the same kind of feeling I had when I saw it the first time.
Let's jump to Rouge City, which is the craziest sequence in the film.
Yeah.
Um,
And Rick Carter was the production designer. He must have had a really great time doing it.
yes, for sure, for sure. But in that sequence, again, it's this incredible combination of techniques, right? For sort of the city, ILM is building map paintings,
Yeah.
miniatures, and then CG imagery, plus blue screen photography of the actors. And so there's a lot going on there, a lot of different departments working together. That's why I think essentially this film had two visual effects supervisors,
Yep.
which is Dennis Muren and Scott Farrar. And then Rouge City was also this example of some crazy new approaches to pre-visualization, but I would also say virtual production. They might not have called it that at the time. To essentially help Janus and also Steven Spielberg imagine what these actors would look like, the characters would look like, who filmed mostly on blue screen and some partial sets, but with Rouge City in the background.
Yeah.
We sort of think about that now as like nothing
I know.
in
It's
terms
so
of
simple.
stimul cam or virtual cam or live comping on set. But back then it wasn't really done. And the reason why it was hard, Hugo, was camera tracking, right?
Yeah.
Like tracking a real moving camera.
Yeah.
That was the hard bit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
at the time?
it was. And
Yeah.
it's funny seeing that now because they go into detail in the Blu-ray. They have like these barcodes in the ceiling.
Yeah.
They
essentially
put
tracking markers,
tracking so that they
yeah.
have a camera facing the ceiling, picking up all those markers to try to then position and find the position of the camera all in real time. This is really early stages. I mean, if you think about it, even some of the tracking systems that exist now on set, from experience, I just recently did a commercial where we use this Zeiss thing called Cinecraft Scenario, which is exactly the same principle. We're shooting plates of the ceiling and then we have markers on the ceiling and that tracks the system. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But this time a much faster deployment because you can just put the markers where you want and it already calculates the lenses and the distortions and everything. In that time, it would have taken them weeks to calibrate the system.
Yeah.
To put all the markers and to individually track them into the system.
Yeah.
And it was a much more, and not to mention, let's not forget that we're filming in film. So it's not digital. So that means what they're watching on and you see that on the behind the scenes, what they're watching on the monitors is what the video camera is shooting.
A video tap.
Which is a video tap.
Yeah.
And it's like a interlaced 60 frames per second video footage in 4:3.
That's right.
It's not even what they're going to film.
It's not at all a live comp or an Unreal comp that we might think about today.
Yeah.
And in fact, they really did talk about it as a pre-visualization system so that the camera operator could go and do a move and Spielberg and Janus could see it on a monitor. I'm not even sure that they essentially then saw it during the real take. But what's interesting is that I think Dennis or Scott had seen this in like weather, when you're watching television broadcasts and someone's doing the weather.
Yeah.
I think the technology had kind of been used for those sorts of virtual sets.
Yeah.
And then it hadn't really been used on a film in a big way.
Because in the late 90s, it was very fashionable for them, even for the football broadcasts and for the soccer. The presenter would be walking on a stage and there would be stats on the floor and they would have like all these real-time things. Yeah, but it was video.
I think there was a very particular company at the time that sold that service. I think they were in Valencia or Spain. It might have been even something like Brainstorm and still around. But they were the ones who did that technology, especially with these barcoded discs on the ceiling. But what I think is fascinating about it is two things. One, it didn't really take off.
Yeah.
Right? Until much later. I suppose it's because of processing time. We didn't really have GPUs.
It's because it's film as well. Because they couldn't see the real plate.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it would have taken it all the way to what? Like 2010 until we or now used to video, really used to it.
Well, where it took off eventually, before any of this stuff we now know as LED wall filmmaking and virtual production, it took off a little bit in TV production.
Yeah.
Especially like shows like Pan Am and that one that's the Disney, like all the fantasy things put together. I'm forgetting the name of it. But they were basically Stargate Studios and Zoic Studios really had these live comping scenarios where you would go and shoot on a green screen and the director and the filmmakers could see what was being shot. But it wasn't necessarily producing the final imagery. It was, again, about pre-visualizing it and then tracking the camera to allow for that. But that was like in maybe 2010, 2011,
it
2012.
took a long time to go. And now it's we watch this behind the scenes. It feels like we're watching a production from now, like from today.
Absolutely.
Because that's how we film now with digital cameras. It's so funny.
And then please correct me if I'm wrong about this, anybody, but as I understand it, this ILM pre-visualization tool and workflow was mostly designed for a musical sequence. In Rouge City. Which is not in the film.
No, it never came out. No.
And I'm guessing the reason they wanted it for the musical sequence is that Jude Law is dancing and jumping and moving around, so therefore parts of the city would have been exposed, like on the frame, and so they wanted to see what it would look like. So essentially, this work, I don't think really appears in the film.
No, they don't even use it. No, not the. Which is funny because on the behind the scenes they show it so much, and it's like it makes it look like
there's definitely scenes at the fountain.
Yeah.
Is it a fountain where David and Gigolo are there, and you feel like the previous system would have worked well for
that background.
Seeing the crazy backgrounds. But as I understand it, there's a musical sequence which is not in the film that this was mostly intended for.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And these backgrounds, it's a really nice collaboration as well because you have miniatures and you have like actual matte painting sets and you have some CG as well, especially for well, in CG you also have CG as well, especially the famous mounts, highways, which are really powerful shots as well. Which is funny, like that's the only moment of the film where we have a little piece of classical music playing on the film, because the whole film is scored by Johnny Williams, like usually with Spielberg. But famously Kubrick used to just put classical musics from famous composers on his movies.
Right.
And he left a note to Spielberg saying that he specifically wanted that specific piece of classical music on that specific shot of the mouth coming in. And no one really knows why. I can't remember the name of the music. It's a valse from a composer from the 19th century, from the early 20th century. But I don't know. No one really knows. But it just came to my mind now because of that image of the highway.
Right.
But those highway shots as well, they're really powerful because you see them getting into this highway with all the futuristic cars, and then you see the city in the distance. And the city is really cool because you have like girls like falling, you have legs,
Pleasure City.
It is such a cool design.
Yeah.
And they built all of this. It was all built as a set, as a miniature set, the whole thing.
Yes, ILM's model shop at the time, I believe ILM still had the model shop. And they were just, again, they were the number one in the world, right? Yeah. And they just were.
Yeah.
They just knew how to make these things and shoot them. And Rouge City looks awesome. The neon side of it looks awesome, right? Yeah. I am going to say, I don't think when we finally go underwater to Coney Island that miniature work holds up as much. Yeah. And it's not because of ILM's model shop. It's just the design of the shots. I thought I'd just do a bit of a segue there to what seems to be other miniature work, Hugo. Yeah. I've always been so disappointed with that Coney Island sequence. Yeah. What about you?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean because
It
it's
doesn't feel like you're down there underwater.
No.
Yeah.
Do you know if it was shot dry to wet or if it was with just smoke or just water?
Dry for wet for sure. So
But what with smoke?
smoked up stage.
But they put particles, right? They did put CG particles.
There's a
floating.
ton of ILM digital
Yeah.
effects work there.
It could be that because if you think about it, like I have a feeling it's a bit too early for visual effects and CG to really do that correctly. I mean, it's really hard to do underwater shots. It's really hard.
It's super hard.
Super hard. And you need like a lot of compositing tools to do it. You need depth passes, you need like particle passes, it's a lot easier these days with Houdini.
Do you know what might not work from just me thinking about it now? A lot of what we see down there is lit up by the space. What is he in, a helicopter?
Yeah, the hydrocopter or whatever.
But it's got spotlights, right?
Yeah.
A lot of what we see down there is only lit by that. Now, was that a post lighting effect or was it?
It must be a post lighting effect. It can't be, and that's what I meant.
They can film.
But it's right for what I'm not sure they would have make a light like that.
I feel bad saying it, but there's something that's never quite worked for me for that
I think
sequence.
it's 2001. In fact, it's technology of 2000. I don't think the shaders, the CG, compositing tools are not good. I don't believe there is enough quality on those tools to create that scope of work.
Yeah.
I think now it's easy with scattering and with translucency and GI, global illumination. You need to understand global illumination was just a theory. It was just like a paper at that time. It's not like it was mainly done with ray tracing and with cast tracing. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not easy because you need GI. For that, you need really global illumination.
Yeah.
And global illumination is something that really comes through in 2010, 2012, 2000. It's not really. It's too early for that.
Yeah. It's interesting. At that period of time, as you say, the ray tracing side of things wasn't really what visual effects studios were using because it was expensive.
Yeah.
So ILM and many other places were faking it.
Yeah.
And they had actually invented essentially ambient occlusion, right? And used heavily on the other big film of that year, other two big films, Pearl Harbor and Jurassic Park 3, used in specific places for like fighter jets. And then some of the dinos, water wet surfaces, But I don't know whether ambient occlusion was used in a big way on AI at all. But you're right, it was very much a period of faking it.
Yeah.
Now we try and do everything physically based.
Yeah,
because we can. We just throw it at the renderer.
Exactly.
Right,
right. And the computer will calculate exactly the thickness of the water, and it will calculate the murky of the water. It would calculate all.
And
those
I
things.
should say one more thing. I feel like when you say it, someone says a shot doesn't work, it's actually often nothing to do with the miniatures or ILM's digital visual effects. It's a ridiculous sequence. There's this helicopter underwater. Flying through Coney Island, they're trying to do the Pinocchio stuff a little bit, right? It's sort of, there's a lot of storytelling being attempted here. Yeah. I just didn't think it was the best way to do it.
I think also it's like it's easy for us to say these things because we are in the know. You write for visual effects. I'm a visual effects artist, and we notice these things. No one is looking at that when they're watching the movie. No. Like they're just watching, where is he going? He's gonna go and meet the fairy. Like most people are not looking at those little details. And I think at the time, the shots looked fine. Yeah. It's just that maybe it's a bit like biased from our side. It's because we are so used to seeing photorealism now with that kind of shots. And I just feel this film was just about to, if it would have been done 6-7 years later, it would already looked so much better in terms of advanced CG. Or if it would have been done in 2010, it's the same thing from the very beginning with Kubrick. Kubrick dragged this movie from the 80s because he thought he didn't have technology.
Yeah.
Came the 90s, still thought that there wasn't technology. He died, there was still no technology. And then Spielberg did it in 2001 because he thought he had it. But I actually think they still didn't have the technology to make it. I think this movie now could have been done perfectly. Now, if we do it now in 2025.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, really what I'm rallying against is that whole sequence. And it leads into the
You don't
Blu-ray
like it.
stuff.
You don't like the
I mean,
sequence.
it just didn't gel for me.
Where the fairy tale, the fairy tale section of the movie is reading online is the most hated section of the movie, like the fairy tale aspect of this movie.
Yeah.
But the fairy tale, the Pinocchio connection, and the blue fairy, I'm not entirely fully sure if it comes from Kubrick. Kind of doubt it because it doesn't sound like him, or if it comes from Spielberg, or if it's like trying to put Pinocchio into this story, but it just, we've already talked about this. It's just another thing. It's another thing that this movie has. We already saw so much, and now we have a blue fairy. Now we have the Pinocchio story, and now he's gonna go down into the water, and he's gonna be looking at this for thousands of years. I don't know. The film was going so well, and then they just go underwater. It's a bit strange. I know what you mean. It's a bit strange.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of Cider and I wanted to see more of the buildings of the robots. It was so interesting to see the boxes of David, and then the boxes of the girl version of the robot.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of that story.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe there has to be the AI verse, you know. I mean, you know.
Well, this is a movie that I wish... I don't think it will ever happen because I don't think the Kubrick estate will ever allow it, because Kubrick was so specific that wanted only Spielberg to be involved. So I don't believe that they will ever allow it for a new AI movie to be made. But no one is stopping anyone to pick up the original book and adapt it.
Yeah.
Because this is adapted from a novel. So no one is stopping it. And I kind of wish this was done again. I wish that there was a new version of this story.
Maybe.
You know.
Yeah.
Because it's a really nice and powerful story.
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many things to talk about, Hugo, and we probably can't go
Dr.
everywhere.
No, he knows it all.
Yeah. I will just reiterate that there's a lot of fun things to go and read. Cinefex and that book you've shown, and the DVDs with all the extras. It was also a time when a lot of ILMers got to be on screen, right? Hal Hickel does some great explanations.
He's on the documentaries
of Dr.
No
and the Blue Fairy and Teddy. Like Hal Hickel, amazing to get that voice on there. But you know, the film is a visual effects extravaganza.
Yeah.
Some of ILM's best work. I really do mean that, and you know, also Stan Winston's as well.
Sad that didn't get the Oscar, but it was going to be tough with Lord of the Rings. It was going to be very
Fellowship
tough.
blew a lot of people away.
Yeah.
So yeah. But so glad we could revisit this film, Hugo.
Have you noticed one thing? You completely ignored the aliens at the end. We don't want to talk about them. We don't need to talk about them.
We did talk about them.
I know. But I love... That is definitely my less favorite sequence, so we don't need to talk about
it. Well, I'm not sure what...
There's nothing to say. It's full CG. It's full CG. There's nothing
They're
really
interesting in the emission of light and the way that light reflects and refracts through them.
Yeah.
They just stand out as just not consistent with the rest of the film. As I keep saying, intentionally. I think, you know.
I like the ice traveling with the ship. I like the ship, the little cube.
I love the ship.
When they're flying.
I want to film just about that ship.
That's nice. Yeah. I like that thing. It's just when they show up. I don't know. I look at that book from the Kubrick archives, and there's so many better designs for those robots.
Okay.
If you go to the final chapter,
there's
like Chris Baker did like 10 variations of these robots.
Yeah.
And there's so much better designs there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did they pick the worst one?
Yeah. I think, Hugo, I'm still getting over the fact that I thought they were aliens that came from another planet.
I only realized they were not aliens last week.
Amazing.
So for
Amazing.
23 years, I thought they were aliens. And you too
my
as well.
God. Of course I did.
I
Yeah.
am sure if anyone also thought it was aliens, please leave a message. Leave a post on YouTube. I can guarantee you a lot of people thought they were aliens because it's never explained. It's never explained, and they look like aliens. They look
do.
like
They
aliens.
do.
I think
Which
that's
is the
the
Spielberg
issue.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the really thin
Yeah.
alien thing
Yeah.
that he likes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our chat about the aliens of AI. But thanks everyone for being here. And Hugo, that was a wild ride going back to a classic film.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.